All right, we should be going live here in a second. There should be a button up there. All right, we're good.
Yep.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. This is John and Rob with the Co-Anglers Corner. We have a guest coming on here in a minute, and I'm going to let Rob introduce him.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen this guy all over Facebook, all over YouTube. He's on a lot of channels, and I'm sure y'all have seen his name, been familiar. He's a great guy, very, very knowledgeable. Been a co-angler a long time, been in front of the boat, so well-rounded, and I think you all gonna like it. Talking about Mr. John Henning from the Philadelphia and PA
All right, we'll
area.
bring John in here.
Hey guys, what's up?
Hey, John, how's it going?
Howdy. What's going on? I appreciate the introductions. A little bit bigger than what I am, but so be it.
Don't be too modest, man.
Well, it's what it is. So, what's on the agenda here?
I think a lot of people
not too much.
Yeah, a lot of people think about like co-angling, kind of get an idea. How'd you start? How do you start now?
Right.
Just kind of general like ground rules. Kind of. I know there's a lot of unwritten etiquette. Some people are familiar with, some are not. So just kind of give us some general stuff, I guess.
Right. Well, I've been a co-angler a long time. Actually, if I look back, we were discussing pre-show. 95 to 2000, I was a co-angler. I was fishing 24 to 26 tournaments as a co-angler for clubs, districts, regionals, state championships, ABA. I had a regular partner. We fished for a couple years together. Did pretty good in the Northeast area. So I had a lot of experience there. I got out of it in 2000 just to have a couple kids and, get a house and all that and direct myself because I couldn't see myself going forward anywhere and I needed to get on with more responsible things in life. Long story short, I started fishing with my kids, 2007-ish, and that was pretty cool. I resisted the addiction to get back into it. 2014, the elites came to Philly, and I heard it on the radio, and I called a buddy and confirmed it, and he said, "Yeah, and there's a club meeting down the street if you want to come join us. You don't have to drive 10, 15 minutes like you used to." I was like, "All right, cool." I stepped in the door, met guys, saw guys from my old club, and I was hooked. I was sucked right back into it. So, but at least now I had a house, my kids, my wife, and life established for the most part. So I was able to do that. But even so, the expense of being a boater, it took me until 2016 to actually get finances to have a boat. And it's an older one. It's a 96 Pro Craft with a 200 EFI. It's taken me years to get it tournament ready because as a boater, you got to be responsible. One, you want your boat to work. You don't want the embarrassment of it not working. And you got to be safe for your co-angler.
Yeah.
You need those live wells working. That bilge pump's got to work. That motor's got to work. You got to be able to operate it in rough water. That guy's life is in your hands.
Yep.
So, but all those things came from my years prior when I was a co-angler. I was trained old school. Old school was, you're my co-angler, you're my partner. You know how to back the truck in the darkest of night, down a ramp. You will launch me. You will park the truck. You won't hit anything. You'll be obviously aware of your surroundings when parking it. You will park it straight, not crooked or half whatever. Courteous to other people. Think about how you're going to pull that truck out of the spot later in the day when it's all full, right?
Yep.
Now you get back in the boat, jump in that seat, sit down, and go for a ride. While you're running, you're supposed to be looking out for debris, rocks, things, especially in like low light conditions or whatever. Anything, you're supposed to be the co-pilot. You're supposed to be looking for stuff. You're supposed to, hey, there's a stick, there's a log, there's a duck, there's a cormorant, whatever. Those kind of things. You fish the day, you do the best you can, you net your fish. And then at the end of the day, once you get off the boat, obviously go get that trailer, prep the winch, straps, whatever, back it down the ramp, get that boat on the trailer, crank it up while the boater's still in it, pull that boat out. Now we get to, all right, you pull it off to a staging area or whatever. You grab the towels. You can get water from a live well or the lower unit by dropping it down. Get a wet towel. Start wiping that boat down.
Yep.
You got to wipe that stuff off because once it dries, it doesn't come off as easy. You got to really get on it then once it's home and in the driveway. Put the straps on. Put the transom saver on. All these kind of things. You're responsible to maintain that boat as much as the boater is. And that's and stow the equipment, stow the net, stow the light poles, all that stuff. You should you should offer those things as a courtesy. Help your buddy, especially as a boater. I've been on boats where a boater thinks I'm just going to sit there when he's broken down, I'm like, no, dude, I'm here. This is all about us.
Yep.
If you need a screwdriver, you need to hold a flashlight, whatever, you need me to hold up that trolling motor while you do something. You got to work together. The boater co-angler thing, that shouldn't be a divide. No. It's probably better days when the boater and co-angler work together.
Yep.
And an example was I fished my first Toyota some weeks back up in Champlain, right?
Yep.
Matched up with Brent Anderson. Now we were fishing an area, weed edge. It's like 8, 10, 12 foot grass is there, and then it drops off into the deeper water. And we were going along, we would get like little fish and stuff like that. And every once in a while we'd hit this one spot in front of this one building, way out, and you just hit all kinds of species. And then there would be big fish intermixed with those, and we kind of figured it out. But that came from him casting forward, using his active target, to look at stuff. But it also came from us deducing by me casting left, me casting right, maybe casting out of the back, getting bites. And then you go off those bites to figure out where everything's at. You know what I mean?
Brett's a good guy. I actually fished with him at Del Hollow earlier this year.
He's a great guy. Had an awesome experience with him. I cannot, say anything bad. He was actually, I don't say frustrated, but disappointed that I wasn't able to get my fifth fish.
Yep.
But it is what it is. That's on me. You can only do so much. Also, sometimes you learn later, as a co-angler, you got to pay attention to your boater.
Yep.
Sometimes you throw the same thing. Sometimes you throw something completely different.
Yep.
And then there's those little subtleties that you're not picking up on. You're like, how's this guy doing this to me? Well, you got to sit there. You literally sit there and watch them.
Yeah.
You have to watch what they're doing. And like, is he doing a shorter cast? We're both fishing the same depth of water. We're out in the middle of 20 foot of water. What's he doing different? Is he doing that long bomb cast and trying to bring it back? Or is he doing that short one where it drops down quicker and they grab it on the fall? And that's what they were doing. I wasn't getting that. I wasn't picking up on that. Also, the long bomb cast, I wasn't feeling the little tick halfway down.
Yep.
Those are the things you got to pay attention to, whether you're a boater or a co-angler, because I've been taught in the last 2 years as a boater, I've had some co's already, put a hammer on me with doing something different. Now I've used those techniques, to better myself, but yeah.
I've noticed sometimes weight, if your boater is using a heavy weight, go to a lightweight. Sometimes you got to kind of do opposite.
Exactly
that weight, that fall weight, that drop, and that fall weight is a big difference.
Right, tungsten versus lead. The profile's different. Is it painted? Is it not painted? What are they focusing on? Another one was on the Potomac. Was with a guy up in northern PA. I fished with him. His name's Justin Kubelis. Hope I got his name right there. We were on the Potomac, and I had fished. It was a double header BFL because one was rescheduled. So It was a great event. First day, I was using a little Z baits, Angry Beaver, just black and blue, black with blue fleck, crawl on a Texas rig. I'm just throwing it out there, and I had 3 fish for 13 pounds. One was a 5'10", right? And they all came at the end of the day. My boater was excited. He didn't catch fish, but he was excited because we located the fish, right?
Yep.
I got a 5'10", I got like a 4'9", and then like a little 3-pounder or something like that, right? So he was excited because now he knew they were there, and it was at the end of the day, so it worked out. Next day, I think I got the deal. I got the bait. I'm going to catch fish. Well, Justin took me over to the grass beds, and my beaver was not working for nothing.
Yeah.
And he was throwing basically a lipless. And long story short, I was like, how is this guy? He's putting on a clinic in front of everybody. He's like David Williams on the Potomac with a frog. Everybody's just astonished at how he's catching all these fish while everybody else is like struggling to get one, right? So Justin, he's throwing out, and I'm like cast for cast, waiting for him to cast, and I cast, same distance, and he's getting back to the boat like 6 to 8 feet quicker than me, doing the same speed retrieve. I was splitting my head for like hours with this because he gave me baits.
Yep.
I did have one that came off at the boat, and that was the only one, but it was crazy. And I finally thought about it around 11 o'clock. I'm like, what speed reel are you using? Oh, I'm using an 8.1. Aha. I'm using a 6.2.
Yep.
Right? And because he would describe, he's like, you're going to run this through, you're just going to crank it, medium retrieve, it's going to hit the weeds, and it's going to just pull right through. It's not going to get hung up. Well, every time I hit the weeds, I'm getting hung up.
Yep.
And it was amazing. I looked around the boat, and I found I had a 7.5. So I threw that on, and I started to cast. It felt completely different.
Yep.
It felt like, instead of you feeling the bait going through the water, it was just like a stone that was just loaded up. The rod was completely loaded up, and it pulled right through the weeds because it was going like this instead of this.
Yep.
And I got 3 fish. So those little things are what you got to pay
little
attention.
tweak, just a little tweak.
Little tweaks. So as a co-angler, you got to pay attention to that stuff.
Yep.
Any angler, you got to pay attention to that stuff. So, but, as far as etiquette, you should start out your day talking to each other.
Yeah.
Actually, can we back this up?
Yep.
Let's talk linking. I have a page, right? The Phoenix Bass Fishing League Northeast Division on Facebook, right? That's the name of the page. We have over 2,200 people. The division may have 600 people in it, active people in the division, where they fish 1 or 2 tournaments or a full series, whatever. But we give the information that's required. Like I do a linking post, right?
Yep.
Every event, I post it up there. Whatever screenshots from MLF on their site, I transfer them over. I said, this is the linking post for this date, this time. Here's your priority cutoff, for doing your link, all the information so they can find that. And then I ask people to put whether they're a boater or co-angler in the comments. And that's the only place that you look. You don't have to scroll through the page, because what I noticed on the MLF's linking page, you have 36 divisions, a couple hundred guys in each. Your posts get lost.
Yeah. So
then we created a page for the Northeast division. So at least the Northeast guys could see their individual division. And then I was like, well, you got 100, 200 guys doing posts, mostly co-anglers, and they get lost. So then they're posting every other day. So all they're doing is bumping everybody down. So I isolated it to, here's the post, you put it here, keeps the page clear, and everybody knows where to look. And then a lot of people on Facebook don't understand all the tools that are on a page.
Yep.
At the top, it'll say chat, and it'll say featured, it'll say events and posts and videos. In the featured section, that's where I put information about getting licenses, linking, fizzing, the procedures for linking or what it means. The procedures are for how from MLF on how things get how you get paired up.
Yep.
And I always pin, which is another tool, pin the current event posting linking right there. So you don't even have to scroll down the page. You go on featured, bang, it's right there, right at the top of the page. And then you just go through the comments, see who does what. You know, I just try to keep it organized. But I've become a link master over the years. You know, I think the page is like 5 or 6 years old, maybe. I don't know how long it's been now. But I would get calls that, you know, I put this page up and I get new guys and they're like, hey, can you help me out? Like a week or two in, they're getting nervous. They're like, I'm not getting a link. Can you do something special for me? You know, like, I'm not even the tournament director. I'm not even an MLF. I have no control of that. I'm just a guy with a page trying to help people out.
And let me say something.
Yeah.
That is, you know, with you doing that, you help a lot of people.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Because,
well, I mean,
the linking, because like with the deadline for the linking, I rely on that. You know, because I'm like,
right.
Oh wait, is it today or tomorrow or, you know?
Sure.
And I've had a couple friends I had helped get linked up with co-anglers and boaters because of your posting.
Well, I appreciate it. That's why it's there. You know, I got frustrated trying to find links. I'm more of an outgoing person, you know, and that's one thing with guys. And here's a perfect example. I'm not going to use names, but the Toyota, the guy I linked with, we kept in contact with each other during the event and all that. He was from Michigan. He called me the other night and he's like, hey, are you going to the St. Lawrence Toyota? I'm like, no, I'm not. And I'm like, okay, you know, I'll look around and see if I can find somebody for you. He's like, appreciate it. So then I have a who's fishing the Toyota because our page is mostly BFL, but we're starting to incorporate the Toyota, especially with the pros coming in. And that's how we get over 2,000 people. You know, we get people from down south and all. But the point of the story was the that I linked him with, I called up the boater or contacted him, like, yo, you mind if I send you a He's like, no, appreciate it. Thank you. You know? And I said, do you want me to give him your information? He's like, yeah. So I said, well, it's going to be this guy. And he's like, that was my from day 2 at the Toyota.
Oh, hey.
Right?
Yep.
So I'm like, that's the thing. That's how I got started. You keep contact with your boaters. If you had a good day, fine. If they were jerks or you didn't get along, fine, you let it go. Yep. But if you can make a friend, most of the guys I know, I've known this is my 8th season, so for 6-7 years now. Some of them some of my earliest contacts in BFL with boaters are some of my best friends, you know, in the Northeast Division. And, you know, that's the thing. You don't just show up on somebody's boat and, you know, okay, thanks, see you, bye. You know, all right, fine. Then I won't help you either. But there's a lot of times people can help, especially when you're trying to network to get a travel partner.
Yep. You
want to share rooms. You want to find out where you want to share a house, which is a new trend, which is working out.
Yeah.
Right. You know, I up in Champlain, I like the house better than the hotels. It's a lot cheaper. You know, I can stay in a house for $35-$40 versus you know, $80-$90 a night. And I got the privacy of a house, you know, with a handful of guys, you know.
Yeah. And don't have to worry about your stuff getting messed with too.
Exactly. You know, that's a big thing anymore. But yeah, so linking is like, you know, we like I said, you got to work together and keep contact. Keep that. You want to build that network. That's what sponsors want. That's what organizations that they want, that network. And then you have that ability to reach out to people and spread the word or get information. And it only benefits you to do that. You know, I've helped a lot of co's. And actually some of the younger ones are the ones that bug me, because you help them out, you calm them down, is like, just relax. And dare I say it, I normally wait until the last second to link with somebody, and in order to help somebody out.
Yeah.
Like a lot of guys will be like, hey, can I link with you? Can I link with you? And that's my little secret I'm letting out. I normally wait till the last second where somebody didn't get linked. And I look at it, well, is it somebody that's in the points? Is it somebody that's been with it, you know, or is it some new guy? Is it a new guy for the first time? This is his first event and he doesn't know what's going on. Nobody will give him the time of day because they don't know who he is.
Yep.
And that's another thing. If you don't network with people, you don't talk to them, they're not going to link with you. I got veteran guys, big name guys that call me all the time. Who's a reliable co?
Yep.
I don't want some knucklehead that's going to back out on me. If you don't build those relationships with these people, you're not going to get linked. You know, and as we're finding out in the Northeast, especially up in Champlain right now, it's been a rough year for boaters and coasts. It flip-flops back and forth.
Yeah.
People are sent home or volunteer to go home. So, yeah.
Yeah. And definitely, I mean, people don't realize, like, if you're a boater, you go in, don't have a co, you could be on a boater on boater draw, which that's
what happened. They
had
had boater on boater.
with co-angler, if you're not linked and you got too many co-anglers in the field.
Well, yeah. Well, that's the thing. That's the thing. With the BFLs, if a co-angler doesn't get linked, they get credit for the event and they get their money to go towards the next event or refund it.
Yep.
So they're paying, you know, it's the, you know, you got to pay for 5, fish 2 in order to qualify for the regional. Well, the co, he paid for the event and he gets credit for it, even if he doesn't fish it, right? And then he gets to use the money towards the next event. On the boater side, that doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
They take your money.
Yep.
If you can't make an event, in order to qualify for, you still got to pay for all 5.
Yep.
Because I had a guy, he wasn't able to make the Champlain event, but he still wanted to qualify for a regional. And he contacted Steve Sizemore, and he said, hey, do I have to pay the money now, or do I have to pay it? Can I pay it like when I sign up for the next one? He's like, nope, you got to pay it now.
Yep.
There's different rules. So they want their money now. Otherwise, you can't decide whether you're going to pay or not. And there's some little differences there, you know?
Yeah.
So,
on the coast side, like I've run into last year, I was in top 40 in points.
Mm-hmm.
And my boater, I mean, wasn't his fault. He got sick, couldn't make it. And so, you know, I had a choice to pay for that event or carry it the next one. So I paid it. But your points, you lose points. And it knocked me to the wild card. But
that's the biggest thing in our division. Sorry, somebody hit me up. I lost train of thought. With points, if a co-angler, if you catch fish, you're going to the regional.
Oh yeah.
If you put 1-2 fish on the scales every event in the Northeast division, because the Potomac can be a bugger for you. The Chesapeake can destroy anybody. We only had 70 boats catch fish out of, I don't know what it was, 100 or whatever in the Chesapeake. We had 70 people blank, I think it was. So that was nice.
Yeah.
Like that was the cutoff. Anybody over 70, we all got, you know, the points for that. And if you got 1 fish, you know, so you get a good amount of points. So that's the biggest thing. You gotta, you know, as long as you get 1 fish.
Yep.
And if you get one where you're blank, you're safe.
Yeah.
I had the year my boat got 2 years ago, my boat got crunched. Lower unit got crunched in traffic.
Ooh.
Sitting at a light. I fished 2 events as a boater. So the last 3 events I had to fish as a co, waiting for my boat to get fixed.
Yep.
And I made the regional. So it is possible.
Oh yeah.
And you got to fish hard. You got to be in there, but that's a possible thing too. So if you blank in 1, you blank in 2, not so bad.
Yeah.
I don't know about, where divisions with 5 events on the same body of water, I'm sure that could be difficult. But the Potomac and the Chesapeake are tougher. They're title events. But the co-anglers that fish the full circuit, they know when they're going to New York, they're catching fish.
Oh yeah.
So it's just a matter of what fish are going to get you into how many points.
Yeah. I run some old guys that like fish back when Red Man.
Yeah.
And they said the same thing. Catch
Yep.
1 or 2 fish event, you'll
Yep.
make the regional. Spot on.
I fished a bunch of them. I'd say 5 of them right before I got out back in 2000, 99 and 2000. I fished some of those. They were fun.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So good old Red Man days.
Oh yeah.
I remember when BFL was a new thing and Peter T won.
Yeah.
And we had pros on the boxes of Wheaties, Denny Brower, and
Oh yeah.
and the Bass University and Bass Class was on TV with Denny Brower there, and all those guys were so young,
Oh yeah.
where we were all so
weren't
young.
we?
Yeah.
Definitely.
So, yeah. But
great stuff so far, guys. Great stuff. Do you have anything that you want to talk about as far as when you're on the boat, how you communicate with your boater and stuff like that?
Who, me? Me
Is it
particularly?
Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
I've done some. I've had some unique communications over the years, and I think normally what I do is obviously I reach out to that boater. If I'm a co-angler, I reach out to that boater. Let the meeting settle. Maybe they're having dinner.
Yep.
Reach out to them within a half hour to an hour. With modern technology, we can text. We don't have to call to bug them while they're doing something. They could be in their boat. They could be showering, especially now that we don't have when we had the on-site meetings, those were great.
Yeah.
They had positives. One, you got camaraderie while you're all standing around waiting and joking with each other, ribbing each other and having a good time.
Yep.
They had the raffles, and they would raffle at least 6, 7 different prizes off. And of course they had the meeting, but now that they don't have the meetings, granted, you don't get the camaraderie, you don't get the door prizes anymore, but you also are able to sit in your boat wherever you're at, not on the water. Normally you're off the water, but like at your hotel, at a parking lot somewhere, because you just went to Walmart. You're like, I'm just going to do everything right here. You could be in your hotel room, just coming out of the shower. You could be having a meal and have your earbud in, listening while you're having dinner. So that works out good that way. I do like that part. But after the meeting, once they send you that information, reach out half hour. It's good to communicate. I'll ask, let's say if John's my boater, I'm not asking for spots. I'm not asking for real information, details. But in the case of Champlain, are we going largemouth or smallmouth fishing?
Yep.
Okay. Whatever the answer is that shallow, mid, or deep? Just so I can know. And I'm going to tell this guy right off the bat, and I'll say it right here. I'm asking you this so I don't bring too much junk.
Yep.
Because I got a big bag. The rules are 1 bag, and there's no rules on rods, but in the Toyotas, I think it's 7 rods.
Yes,
right?
it is.
Now, I'm a boater now, trying to condense a boat down into a bag with my rain gear and everything. As a boater, you collect a lot of stuff, and you got so many ideas in your head and so many rods. As a co-angler, you got to really think what you're going to take.
Yep.
So that's what I do. I'm look, I'm not going to, a lot of boaters fear, like I experienced in the early years, was, oh, you're going to go run, tell your roommates and your buddies and your friends and tell them everything we're going to do. No, you have to keep that to yourself.
Yep.
If your boater is giving you information, you got to keep that to yourself because he's trying to help you. So you should give him the same courtesy.
Definitely.
You'd be like, dude, all you need is 2 drop shot rods, provided he's not trying to hurt you and he's going out and throwing frogs all day, right?
Yep.
That works out, and that leaves less clutter in the boat. Hopefully you get a back compartment. When I was back in the 90s, you didn't get a back compartment. That was for the boater.
Yep.
You put your 5 rods over there in the side pocket, you put your bag at your feet and your rain gear and stuff. You either wear it or do something with it, but that's not my responsibility.
Yep.
So like I said, I talked to him ahead of time. As far as pickup, sometimes depending what location and the facilities, you can meet at the ramp.
Yep.
Or you can meet at a hotel, meet at a gas station. A lot of people forget about that. If it's a large enough gas station and it seems like they won't have an issue with it, go there.
Yep.
Walmart's used to be a great place, but then Walmart's became the targets of issues, of problems, of vandalized cars. Down the Chesapeake Bay, they kind of I've heard rumors of that, where guys, you meet there. Walmart's big. You can leave your car under the lights. They're still get vandalized by the meth heads.
Yeah.
You just can't win. So you pay the money, you park at the ramp, and your stuff's secure.
Yep. There you go. And everything I ask too, I'll ask my boater. I'll ask the same thing. Hey, shallow or deep? Then I ask fast or slow. We're gonna do burn full motor all day or take it slow. So it helps even more. It's kind of divided up a little bit.
Yeah.
Another thing that I add in there is because I don't like a seat in the back.
Well, that depends on conditions.
Well, even though I'll stand down in the main area.
That's fair. Fair. Yeah.
But because if I'm setting the hook on a fish, if we're largemouth fishing, and I'm flipping, and I set the hook and take a step back, I may hit that seat.
Right.
Depending on the boat. But
yeah.
That's why I'm like, I just leave the seat home. If the seat doesn't come out, I'll work around it. But.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Especially as a boater now, because you're supposed to provide a seat for your co-angler if they require it. And so I only bring butt seats. I have the original sit-down seats and the little post for them, but I don't use them. I provide a butt seat, and I use it up front for rough water.
Yep.
That's just something to lean against. And the last 2 Champlain events, the one day I was like, geez, I should have brought my seat for me. My back deck is almost as big as my front deck on that old Procraft. Everybody's like, geez, it's like 6 by 6 back there. You got plenty of room. It's me on the front bouncing and bobbing that, I almost get thrown off, especially if you got your trolling motor on high and kick it the wrong way, and where the wind throws you or wave catches you funny, So that's why I offer it. I look at the weather conditions, that's all. It's just a little personal safety. And then, some people do prefer it. But like I said, I use the butt seat because that way it doesn't get in the way as much. Also, mine break down so I can put them in the bottom of the boat or in an area to get them out of the way if that's the problem. So, that's one thing as a co. You got to be mindful. I know as years ago, like back in my boat's pretty clear. There's just a motor back there. Now we got GoPro poles and we got power poles and, various things going on back there. You got to be mindful of that stuff, as a co. Don't be smacking that stuff with weights and getting tangled up in it. And, granted, you'll have boaters that just hit the power pole buttons and drop stuff down, and you could get caught up in that as well. So always be mindful of the boat, though. Because they're expensive to maintain, they're expensive to repair. When a guy takes his boat to a boat dealer to trade it in or something like that, and there's a big ding in the cowling of his boat or whatever, it's not good for him. He's not going to get any equity out of that.
Yeah.
So, or dings in the gel coat, so.
And then as a
Which-
code, like your boater's tying up or something, kind of be mindful if you get close to shore. Hey, man, we're getting
Oh,
close.
yeah. Oh, for
'Cause
sure.
it'll happen like that.
That's a perfect thing.
Yep.
I get so frustrated. And this was another thing, goes back to my opening statement as taught old school. You are there, you should protect that boat like it's your own.
Yep.
We tied up at the main dock at Champlain. We're trying to tie up and it's getting rough. There's a lot of boat traffic. Everybody's getting fuel and stuff like that. And there was a big 1.5 1.25 bolt with a nut where the dock moved. It was right inside the rub rail on the dock.
Yep.
But don't you know that thing caught my gel coat with just one time.
Yep.
And we were, we tied the bow. We're trying to get bring the back around and tie that off. And just that one time, there was a guy on my boat and he didn't pay attention to that while I'm trying to do it. So, that's another thing. Communication probably was my fault. Like, hold the boat, keep an eye on stuff,
Yep.
and it's a shame, but that's what happens. But like when you're out fishing, especially in shallows or near concrete, rebar, steel, look out for those things because they just destroy gel coat.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the Delaware River is just full of all that stuff. And you never know when, a wave or something's going to come out and, hit you and then you're just banged up against it. So keep an eye out on the boater will really appreciate it.
Yep.
If he feels you pushing off on a piling, he don't care because he don't want all those little nails from the carpeting or the line catches or whatever rubbing his gel coat. He won't mind that. He'll thank you for that.
Oh yeah.
He'll definitely thank you for that, because you're looking out for him and he appreciates that.
Yeah, it's part of being a team. You're right on that.
Right,
Part of being
right.
a team.
That's what it's about. I mean, you're not filling each other's live wells, but the more you work together and keep a cohesive environment on the boat, the better it's going to be.
Definitely.
So, yeah.
Good point.
One of the bigger topics, is the money exchange. When do I do it? How do I do it? How much do I give them?
That's a valid point.
And like with me, like I try to pay the guy before I get in his boat.
Okay.
As we're meeting up in the morning, because look, at the end of the day, the last thing I want to do is worry about, especially if it's raining out, trying to find my wallet, get him money. If I get it done and over with the first thing in the morning, I don't have to worry about doing it at the end of the day when it's raining.
Fair enough.
Hectic. In a day, so hectic too. That's a good point.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it may set the tone depending on how much you offer them. If you hand $20, you'll be like, all right, well, we'll see what this goes. And that's a thing. Years ago, it was like $20-$30.
Yep.
And more than $30, like I said, back in the 90s and stuff, that was a lot of money back then too. But nowadays, that really doesn't fly. I'm sorry to say, the expense of being a boater is you can guarantee $1,000 per event for a BFL.
Oh yeah.
And that's only with like a day or two of pre-fishing, right? With your hotel, all your the gas. I mean, Plattsburgh, the first day of practice, I put $80 of gas in my boat. And I was out there and I literally ran out of gas and it kind of freaked me out because I'd never done that, run a tank dry. And I thought my boat died. And I'm looking at stuff and like kind of getting disturbed. Like, well, it is the end of the day. Maybe I should start thinking about heading home because there's nobody out here that I know and could call, right? So I swapped tanks and, did a little deciphering and, fired up. And then it died. I'm like, oh, no, that wasn't the problem. And I started up again and I ran towards the ramp and, ran fine. But that's all that happened. But there again, $80 just for practice, and you compound that.
Yeah.
But especially with, the way the economy's going up, prices, the $3.79 a gallon up there, a week or two ago was, I just can't, there's got to be somewhere cheaper, But I came home and it's like, nope, it's just as expensive here too now. it jumped.
Yep.
And the gas mileage on a boat is about 2 miles to the gallon. So if you're running 20 miles, you're burning 10 gallons.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that's $37 right off the bat, right?
Yep.
So it gets pricey quick. So I have been one. I always ask. I wait till the end of the day because I like to see how far we ran.
Yeah.
One, that way I make sure I'm compensating properly. So I would say you should start at least at 30.
Yeah.
And work your way up 30, 40, 50. I had one guy in the Toyota series. He's like, I said, what do I owe you? And now this is, it's going to be a story. I'm going to jump back. That guy said between $0 and $100. That was his comeback. Because I was like, well, what do you want? He's like, between $0 and $100, whatever you give me, that's fine. Okay, fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good guy. I think I compensated him pretty good. He's like, I went through 20 gallons of gas. I basically covered his 20 gallons of gas.
Yeah.
So that's the least I can do. We were on fish. He took care of me. Great guy.
Yeah.
In a previous experience, I had a real butthead. And, I experienced on the St. Lawrence. And he was bragging to me about his prior years on the tour and things like this. And this was his signature boat and all these wonderful things. And he was throwing 12 inches back because if you can't weigh them, if you're going to weigh them, you shouldn't even be fishing. You shouldn't even be weighing fish. And like, all right, whatever. He was the same guy that told me that I should come prepared because I didn't have a measuring stick, a golden rule. I'm like, well, it's right. I literally asked him, can you hand me that? And he's like, yeah. And he grabbed it and he threw it across the deck to me on the back deck and said, next time you need to come prepared. Like, whoa.
Jeez.
We get back to the dock. This was pre-COVID. Things were a little bit cheaper. And he said we basically ran about 25 minutes total all day. We ran out of Clayton. We ran across to the islands, and we bounced around in the islands, literally right across the river. Total run time, I'll give him 40 minutes run time total all day, right? I said, what do I owe you? Now, here's how it goes back and forth. He's like, well, whatever you think. So I got my wallet out and I said, well, is $30 good for you? He's like, no. Like, okay. What you it's like he left it up to me and like, it's 30 bucks good? He's like, no. I was like, well, what were you expecting? He's like, well, it's at least 40, 50 bucks, especially because you tried to lowball me. Like, you left it up to me. I don't know what you want. We didn't really run that much as a boat owner. So I was like, all right, well, here's 50 bucks then. So be it. And he's like, and he hit, evidently this was like a cliche line in the Costas at the time. It's not like any of us are out here making money. So in the Costas and the Toyotas, it's like a minimum $50. They play on that level. Yep. You're not getting that BFL co-angler 25, 30 buck day. They're 50 bucks. They're getting paid. They it's a bigger financial situation. So come accordingly. So yeah. So that's it can go either way.
Yeah, I've had a boat on Toyota give me money back before. I think I gave him 50 or 60 bucks. He says, no, I didn't do that much. He gave me like half of it back. I'm like,
right. Well, that and some co-anglers have really surprised me with what they've given me as a boater. I'm like, wow, this is way too much. No, dude, it's not right. I appreciate it. And that even because of that, I want to give more back to you.
Yeah. It's a matter of respect, kind of.
Right, exactly. And that's the biggest thing is to be offering it out of respect. It's all about respect in this situation. You want respect when you go buy a car. You want respect when you're in a contract with somebody, when you're working, and you should have the same respect when you're on the water with somebody for 8 hours. You're stuck with them.
Absolutely.
It can go sour real quick. All right.
Yep.
Can be 10 hours.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's about it. Rods are another thing. One thing that I came up, or I didn't come up with, but it was recommended to me, and I followed it. We're discussing consolidating a boat into a bag.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, well, I'm going to be drop shotting, and I got this big pack, and I got like 5 different colors of dream shots, and I got a bunch of flatworms in like 5 different colors, and you got like, if you're taking 5 different baits in 5 different colors, that's 25 packs of worms.
Yep.
If they're a 10-pack, that's 250 worms. You're not going to use all them.
Mm.
So what somebody recommended to me, and I think it's a great idea, and I pass it on, even for practice, is take 3 or 4 worms of each color of the same type of worm, put them in a bag.
Yep.
Now you got one bag, it's got 4 colors in it, and let's say 12 or 15 worms. Now you take the other 3 bags and you put them aside, leave them in the truck, wherever. And now you got enough to figure out color. If you run out of a color that's hot, we'll figure out another color. So that forces you to try something different, to open your mind. Is it the color? Is it the worm? Is it the action, right? Yep. You ran out of those worms. Okay, we'll find something different. Cycle through your products. And then that can actually give you secondary and third patterns that you didn't know were there because you're concentrating on a green pumpkin worm. You think that's the deal. Well, then you take, like in the Champlain event, I'm fishing green pumpkin, and I put on one of the shad colored ones, throw it down. All of a sudden, in the same area I'm getting dinks, I get a 3-pounder.
Yep.
There's a difference.
Yep.
That's the difference. And those big fish know that stuff too. They pay attention to that stuff. Dinks, they hit anything. They're competing. So, like I said, that's a great way to consolidate your baits. You take this big pack, and now you're down to 5 little packs. But you have a massive selection of baits, and that helps to consolidate your stuff.
Great tip, man. That's great. I never even thought about that.
I thought it was a good one when it was given to me.
Yeah, that's great, man. Thanks for sharing.
Especially because when you're limited in what you can carry, hard baits are tough to downsize. There again, I'll take my big boxes, 3700s, and I'll get a 3600 and say, okay, what are you realistically going to throw? You don't need 10 colors of chatter baits and 3 of each. Again, right?
Yep.
Are you going to throw Carolina crawl? Are you going to throw green pumpkin? Are you black and blue? Are you seriously going to throw that? You double check yourself. You're like, are you seriously going to do that? They're feeding on shad, so you're going to throw white or blue and white or something like that. You're not going to be throwing those other ones, right? There's no blue crabs in Champlain, so we're not throwing, green pumpkin magic or whatever or Bama crawl. That's, you can if you want, but we're not probably going to throw that in a jig, because all the crayfish up in Champlain are green pumpkin. They're OD green. I haven't seen any other color of crawdad, or crayfish up there other than green pumpkin.
Yep.
That watermelon magic.
That big too. They don't get real big as far as I've seen. They're all about 2-3 inches.
Yeah. That watermelon magic craw.
Yeah.
I call smallies on that up there.
Yeah. That's a good color. Any of the green pumpkin, watermelon are always good colors up at Champlain. Whether it's a Senko is highly recommended in those colors. If you can get the laminate, that's even better. And then, of course, any kind of shad stuff. There's a lot of shad up there. I'm not sure if there's alewives, but
there are.
I know and the perch. I've seen literally thousands of perch like a cloud that went for 5 minutes just under the boat. They're just swimming by like a Finding Nemo thing. They're just swimming by. And then they just kept coming. They're all like 3 and 4 inches. Just big, massive cloud. there was nothing around them. I guess they were safe. That's why they're just traveling. But yeah, a lot of perch.
Yeah.
I was amazed at actually the stuff that gets spit up out of a smallmouth. There again, like a 6-inch minnow coming out of a 3-pound smallmouth. Like, how did you fit this in there? Weren't you done? But
Yeah, and still eat something else. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
Right. So,
Yeah.
So and the same thing with rods. You can try to have a rod for everything. Well, you can't as a co. Years ago, I would throw my jig rod would also be my Carolina rig rod.
Yeah.
I would put those together. Now this is before drop shots and Neds and all this stuff, right? I would have a finesse rod, which was basically a shaky head, a slider head. I'd use a slider or a jaker head. Years ago, they had them. Same concept. And then I have like a swim bait of some sort, like a sluggo.
Yep.
I'm dating myself with these terms, but I'm thinking about those old. That's what you had available.
Yep.
My crankbait rod would be also my topwater rod for poppers, like crankbaits, small crankbaits would also be my popper rod. I'd put big topwaters on that jig. You're either or that jig Carolina rig rod. You're either on the bottom or you're throwing topwater, and that rod can handle the spooks and stuff like that you would throw on that. Obviously, a Texas rig rod. So now we're down to 4 rods right there.
Yep.
And then maybe a specialty rod of some sort. You mix in for a certain technique. But that was the 5 rods. I mean, that's all you really need. Nowadays, we have when I was going as a co for the Toyota, like, well, I need 2 rods for drop shot. Right off the bat, you got to have a second one as a backup.
Yep.
And then going through, I want a swim bait rod and I want a spook rod. And it is like, well, you're going to have to downsize. You don't have the luxury of all these rods. Yep. So you got to manage and try to get a rod that you can do multiple techniques with is the best way.
Yeah, sometimes I'll throw an extra reel in, like I'll have a braid reel for topwaters or something.
That was one thing, even as a boater, it's something I used to do that years ago, and I completely forgot about that. And then somebody mentioned it, having extra spools in your bag that you can swap out. And actually, that last event as a boater, I was like, I did a long cast, like looking at my spool, like, geez, I should have respooled this last night because there's only like 12 wraps on the spool.
Right.
Like I should have an extra spool, or they used an extra spool of braid. I don't. I mean, I carry various months of fluoro normally and mono for my leaders, but I didn't have any extra braid. I figured I got.
Or you have a professional overrun.
Right. Exactly. So yeah.
And I see
a
lot of
5 more minutes.
Yeah, I see a lot of cows have like 10 rods, and I like looking at the boat in front of me, and there's rods like everywhere.
Well, that's the thing. I warn my cows. Some of the boats are really laid out nice.
Yep.
The Phoenixes are laid out nice.
Yep.
My Procraft is not.
Yep.
I'll tell you that right now. I tell them, like, I did a lot of rework to my boat over the years. I put new seats in it, even though the originals are up in the loft. They're perfect condition, but the foam is shot. But I put new seats in it, and I tell them, just put them on the floor and lean them. Yep. If you try to put them up in the rod holder area, which is like a little flat area about this big and barely depressed, and there's a strap back there that'll hold them, but it's just not going to fit properly. I don't recommend putting them up there. It's just the way it was. But some of them, I think it's Bass Cat, but the Phoenixes for sure, they got a nice set. Section on their boat for all your rods, especially if you think about it. You put your bait casters on the bottom and then let your spinning reels hang from the top so the reel hangs down over them.
Yep.
Don't be putting your spinning reels at the bottom and trying to put your bait casters on top. I mean, granted, if you're using them, so be it. You let you bury your rods, but for the most part, manage and think about how you're putting your rods in there. Rod sleeves are a great thing.
Yep. And rod caddies. I went to a rod caddy a couple years back. Man, so handy to have. I mean, carrying it to the boat, carrying it back. I mean, whatever situation, that rod caddy going to keep them all together. Awesome
Yeah.
little product.
What's that?
The rod caddies, it keeps all the rods together. It's got the little carry strap.
Well, the rod caddies are great. Yeah, I would recommend them. But I'm saying rod sleeves and bait covers. Years ago, we used the Save-A-Pigs.
Yep.
They were a real cheap foam thing with Velcro on it. They were great for keeping your treble hooks from snagging into stuff.
Yep.
Do not get a treble hook in a seat. That's another thing. If you screw up somebody's boat, please tell them.
Yep.
No matter how old, no matter how new, that is still a repair or something. Like maybe the boater's like, look, well, we're just going to have to cut this hook, back this out, whatever. Guys smoking on boats and burning carpets. I used to smoke years ago. I smoked for 22 years, and back in the day, I was a chimney. And there was etiquette on that. Don't put your cigarette butts in the water. Field dress them, so to speak. Put them in your pocket or your bag. Keep the boat clean. Don't let your boats be red. Oh, another one. Do not steal your boater's baits.
I'm sure there's a story behind that.
There's a story about that. There's a legitimate story where guy said, yeah, help yourself to some of my baits. Well, the code it was a moldy, like a Toyota or a Soup or something like that. And the dude took like half of his baits and put them in his pocket. Long story short, he got called out on the pages that I run. I didn't do it. And he's like, just put them back.
Yep.
I'm not using your name, but you know where I am. Put them back.
Yep.
Because that was one of those special worms, custom pour kind of thing.
Yep.
Yeah. The other thing is the baits that are on the floor. If your boater's throwing baits on the floor, that's his trash. Don't be picking his stuff up and trying to sneak it onto your hook. That's uncool.
No.
Because he's going to eventually find out if he sees his bait on if you don't have them, right? You're like, where'd you get that bait?
Yeah. There's only one thing worse than a hook in a seat. Bringing spike it, dip and die on a boat.
Well, here's how I handle that as a boater, as a co. I keep them all in a Ziploc bag.
Yep.
And then I keep them in another Ziploc bag.
Yep.
When you're using your dip and go, whatever, I don't dip into the bottle.
Yeah.
I shake the bottle. I open it over the edge of the boat.
Yep.
I hold the bottle in my hand. I hold the cap in my hand. And then I'm normally dipping the tail anyway. So I use the tail just to dip into the cap.
Yep.
Or the legs or whatever.
Yep.
Put that cap on, put that bait over, and then put that bag back, or the bottle back in the bag before it comes back on the boat. So there is no chance of you getting that stuff.
Absolutely.
And you get on your hands and knees when you do that. Don't be standing there and trying to do no. You get on your hands and knees. That's another quick tip for netting. A lot of guys don't know how to net. When I was with Corey, he was impressed with my netting. He's like, dude, you saved my butt a couple times. When you get a net, if you were physically able to, get on your knees.
Yep.
Stay low. You get on your knees, you stay low, you keep that net up against your body, up against the boat.
Yep.
Be over the edge, but up against the boat. And don't swat at it. And as he brings the fish in, then you go out and you scoop underneath that fish as he's bringing it up.
Yep.
If you miss it, pull that net back.
Yep.
If it's a long net, hold the bottom of that net so that doesn't get caught on the cleat or anything like that. Those kind of things. But stay low. So that allows the angler to literally be over top of you. You're below him. And if he has to go to the other side of the boat, you just transition over to the other side. Yep. So those are things to help each other, and you can reach out there long distance if they got a longer net. Those kind of things. You can catch that fish while it's popping off, and you just saved his day.
Yep.
Right.
So if you're both there, you're bumping each other. When you're both up top. So it's another little tip.
Yeah.
Great tips, man. Appreciate it.
Great stuff, man. We're gonna have to have you on there. I know there's a lot more we want to talk about and
Sure.
discuss. So
Yeah.
we'll set something up for a little bit down the road because we're hitting that hour mark for you, and we don't want to
Yeah.
keep you on any longer than you are. So
Yeah, I appreciate that.
all right, bud. All
All
right.
right, man. Thank
So
you.
thank you very much. Take care, and
Great talking with you.
I'll
Great
see
tips,
you
man.
next
Thank you for
weekend.
sharing.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Take care, man. Yep.
Thanks. Bye.
Yep. Bye bye.
Guys, you got the
All
juice
right,
right
Rob.
there.
So
They got
yes,
the
sir.
juice
Yes,
right
sir.
there now.
Yeah, it was a nice podcast too. I mean,
Yeah.
I think the best ones are the ones where the guest does most of the talking. So
Yeah. I mean, he
I
covered.
appreciate it. All right,
Yeah,
well,
he
I'm
covered
gonna
pretty much everything.
I'm gonna hit the end of the podcast, and if you want to stick on down below, and we'll talk a little bit about something.
Sure.
We can. If not, I'll talk to you during the week. Okay.
Good deal, man. I'll stick around for a minute.
All right, man.
Take care, guys.